Mom was the victim of a divorce, and she lost her job, and she was hooked on prescription drugs. And so every morning before school, this child was not only emotionally and mentally abused, but also was physically abused. And at some point, you just wake up in the middle of the morning and you wake up to go to school, and food is a luxury. It's not a privilege. And so this is something that I noticed, I talk about a lot. I see this story a lot, unfortunately. But somebody finally noticed that this child, something was not right. And so this child was brought into the system, supposedly to be rescued, and they were put in a home, a foster home, with another child that had been there to be rescued. They were rescued from a sexual abuse situation. This child had been sexually abused for years, and so what ended up happening was this child, a victim of abuse, now became a perpetrator, and perpetrated on the child that had come into this place as a safe place. So this child, coming out of a horrible situation, now in where they think is safe, is not safe anymore. And years go by, and they move from foster family to foster family, and they go from group home to group home, and the word adoption finally comes up. Mom's rights have been terminated, dad's rights have been terminated, and they say, adoption is an option. Somebody talks about it, and then somebody else says, not really, because this kid's too old, and everybody wants babies, and so this is not really an option for you. We wish it was, but it's just not going to happen. On the other side of town, there's a couple having a discussion about adoption. And they're talking about all their fears. They're talking about, there's a couple at church that they know that have adopted, and it sounds really interesting. They're just not sure. And he's scared to death because he heard it cost a fortune. And she's scared to death because she hears it takes a really long time, and she has a long list too. She's just unsure about a lot of things. So they talk about it a lot lately. It becomes part of their weekly conversation, and they can't really seem to come to any kind of resolve. And the following weekend, they run into some old friends, and they say, let's get together for dinner. So the next weekend, they get together for dinner, and they're like, what have you been doing lately? And, we went to this great event. It's called Best Dessert, and it was to support this company, this organization, this nonprofit called Adoption Discovery. And the husband says, do you know that they are claiming that they can show you how to do a $0 adoption in less than 9 months? And she's like, what? And he's like, looking at her, like, oh my word, did he just say what we think that he just said? And so they talk about the website, and then they keep talking about the dessert, and they don't really discuss it anymore. They both leave there, and this is on a weekend, so Sunday night, they turn on the TV, and Extreme Home Makeovers is about a family that's adopted, and they build a house, and they sit there and they cry. And then next is Desperate Housewives, and somebody's trying to adopt on Desperate Housewives, and they're crying. And then after that is Brothers and Sisters, and they're like, oh my word, adoption is everywhere. So they talk about it some more, and they say, it's TV stuff, it's not really going to happen. Then Wednesday comes along, and Modern Family comes on, and like every day of the week it's adoption. Then a celebrity adopts, and it's on the front of People magazine, and they're like, is this ever going to end? Is this like a sign, And so they start having that conversation again. And they're asking a lot of questions, but they're not getting a lot of answers. So they call their friends and they say, what was that website? And they say adoptiondiscovery.org, and they go to our website, and they put in their zip code, and they try to find a group, but all the groups are full. And so they get put on a waiting list, and they wait, and finally they find a group that's about 50 miles from their house. And they say, should we do this? And she says, well, we've waited a long time. We've talked about it, and it won't go away because it's everywhere, so let's go. So they drive every Sunday night to an adoption discovery group, and they get a lot of questions answered, and they find out that, yes, they can do it for free, and yes, they can do it for in less than 9 months, and they're surrounded by support of other people that are just like them, and they have a leader that's there to answer questions, and they go through a curriculum. So excited about all the new possibilities. They've decided that they don't necessarily want what they normally started out wanting. She came in thinking, I don't know what I want, and he came in thinking, I better do what she wants. And he says, well, I'm petrified at the diaper stage. And she's like, I don't really want to get up in the middle of the night. And so they settle on a child. They'll say, we'll take a child in between the ages of 6 and 12. And so, meanwhile, the child on the other side of the story that was told you are unwanted, not so. Adopted now with the possibilities of reaching their full potential. Taking life as it comes and incorporating it into their dreams. That's what adoption discovery is all about. So this story repeats itself, not just in our country, but in every country. So if you think that that's a rare occasion, you are wrong. We hear that story every week at Adoption Discovery. There's somebody out there for everybody. There is no child that is unadoptable. We have decided that this event is a way to get a lot of people in the room that may or may not be concerned about adoption, but they love dessert. And they have a lot of friends that they're going to tell about the dessert. And guess what? One of those friends or somebody that you work with are going to be just like one of these people. And they're going to need to know about what we can tell them, which will help them adopt a child and change the world.